Afternoon, Badgers. My angry pagan here. So I just wanted this one bit, because I've been on trains and that recently. And Dad works on train, has been, train station and everything. It occurred to me that I should really talk a bit more about how sea level rise and climate change effects are going to have a material effect on infrastructure, and why it's such a big mistake for this Labour government to be completely ignoring it. Okay, and I mean, I've looked and I've seen nothing so far. Like apart from that little bit on in a private members, I think it was a private members bill. Like Labour aren't even taking this into account. They're talking about green energy, but like as a personal example, and I think I might have said this before, but the line that goes from Paignton to Exmouth goes from Paignton up to and down to and then to Exmouth. That whole line, pretty much, is vulnerable to sea level rise. The whole town of Newton Abbot and Teignmouth, actually, is very vulnerable to sea level rise, and we're only talking about 1 to 2 feet. Already, Newton Abbot racecourse gets regularly flooded. I'm not a big fan of the racecourse. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the point. It's one of the main big hotspots one of the big focal points in Newton Abbot, and that gets regularly flooded. That's going to be gone. Like that will have to like they're going to have to cut their losses on that one. Paignton Town Centre, the town I live in, 3 feet of sea level will be a major danger to all of the bottom part of the town when we get storm surges. And Torbay gets storm surges every year. The line between the railway line that runs between Exeter and Dawlish, which is on the Exeter St David's to Paignton line, is literally right next to the sea. I mean, they've already had to repair the seawall down at Dawlish, or up at Dawlish for me, several times over the years. But that's going to become redundant. And yet this is not being spoken about. And it's not really being taken seriously. It's still like, oh, this is years away. This is in a couple of parliaments' time. We need to be dealing with this now. We needed to be dealing with this 30 years ago. But, like, we need to be dealing with it now. Like, really need to be dealing with it now. All these plans for new housing and stuff needs to have sea level rise taken into account when choosing where the plots of land to build on. Because the current coasts aren't going to stay the same, and they never do technically anyway. But like in the simple way that most people think about it, the coastlines are drastically going to change within the next 15 years. And it's not a maybe. It's not a might. This will happen. From Cambridge all the way up to Hull on the east coast, it's going to force hundreds of thousands of people to move. Just because of how, because of how low it is to sea level, and we refuse to do the same as the Dutch. We are heading into a disaster, and it's all going to be reactionary. And I get that people get sick and tired of me badgering on about this point, but no one else is. No one down at our level is. There's just, it's all green energy this, and carbon capture that. The main railways, there are a lot of railways that run along coasts. Now, I identified the Paignton to Exmouth one, right? But I also said about Cambridge up all the way up to Hull. That's major railway lines that are going to be completely unusable. And I got asked the other night, why not join the Green Party? I was like, because the Green Party aren't coherent when it comes to this stuff. Like, we need new railways, and they're like, no. We need new houses. No. We need, solar farms. No. It just, we know what we need to do, and we're just not doing it. It's not even like we don't know what to do to try and adapt to the changes that are coming. Not stop them, because we're not going to stop these changes, but adapt to these changes that are coming. We know what we can do, but the people with most power are refusing to listen. It's brushed under the fucking rug. Someone else can deal with it. Well, guess what, mate? It's going to have to be dealt with within the next parliament or so. The next 2 to 4 between the next in the next 4 parliaments maximum. One government or another is going to have to deal with this one way or another. And this won't just affect like a couple of thousand people. This will be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. These are things that are seriously overlooked. I spoke about how do we clean up no one's talking about how do we clean up the oil and gas infrastructure after we stop using it. What do we do with that? No one's talking about that. And I think that is something we need to talk about. This is even closer to home. I will not be able to travel up to Exeter via the train, which is the only way I really can travel these days, to see the majority of my family, because the line will be underwater. Like, I was speaking on the train on the way back from Barnstable the other day. I got talking to the guy, and it was a cross country train, what used to be Virgin trains, and I got talking to the guy on the train, and he was saying, like, he agreed, like, he was like, yeah, no, you're fully right. So I asked him, like, is there anyone talking about it within the company? And they're like, some are, but those who are getting ignored. This is why it needs to be brought up with government. This is why government needs to be pushed on this. Because people already are trying to push on this from a local level. People already are trying to push on this from the inside. But government needs pushing on this. It's all well and good saying, no, it's going to have to come down to local level. No. A lot of this is going to have to be like government, like the government is going to have to say to these companies before they get like in the meantime before they get nationalised, you'll have to take into account. And once they do get nationalised, it will be the government's responsibility. The government is going to have to lay a whole new track line just for the southwest, and that's just for the southwest. We've needed it for a long time anyway, but it's actually necessary now, more necessary than it's ever been, and that's just the southwest. That's just the south. That's just the south of Devon in particular. Let alone the rest of the fucking country. Let alone you just trying to get into Cornwall. That's a pain in the ass quite often. And that's just for people in Devon trying to get into Cornwall. I can't imagine what it's like for you lot up north trying to get through Devon to Cornwall. I bet it's a fire right pain in the arse. Again, I do understand people's frustrations with me for constantly going on about this, but it's not like I'm not going on about this. Like, we need to talk about this. This needs to be a full conversation, like we have about Trump, like we have about the Tories, like we have about Reform UK. But I am not seeing it. Yeah, okay, I see it on the specialist, environment programs. The specialist green programs, but amongst the general leftist YouTubers, it's I get told that that it's spoken about a lot, and yet I'm one of the regular watchers of this stuff, and I barely fucking hear about it. That's why I'm like this. That's why I push this so fucking heavily. I want to talk about the solutions, but it's really difficult to talk about the solutions when people are refusing to talk about what's going on in the first place, or what's about to happen in the first place. Now, I get people are recognise that it's happening, but there's no one talking about it. Everyone's talking about everything else that's happening. So, yeah, you know what? I will carry on. And if you don't like it, then tough. Because really, no one else is talking about it, especially when it comes to sea level rise. Really, I do think this is underestimated. And for the left to underestimate this and not talk about this as much as I was expecting from the left, sure, I will leave it to the specialist. No, we didn't not like the more we who aren't classed as experts also need to be talking about this. Just the same we do as every other aspect of politics. But I'm struggling to see it across the many leftist YouTubers that I watch, Americans included. I hear people, some leftists talk about what should the left unite around? This, because it's such an umbrella subject. Climate change and sea level rise should be united around on the left. Why? Because it will materially affect everyone, including the people on the right. And you'd be pointing out, look at Bangladesh and the Pacific Islands. They're already going underwater. That is happening. Like that's just about to happen to us. Let me know what you guys think. I could be it could be very well that people are right and I'm just shouting into the wind on this. But I'm going to continue to do so until I start hearing more leftist YouTubers actually talk about this properly. So, my shield at your backs, guys. My sword at your service. Blessed be and God with the world.